Welcome to another episode of the Cozy Cottage Crochet podcast. My name is Hannah. This is Nova. And this is a podcast all about crochet, a little bit of knitting, sometimes sewing, and generally living the yarniest life possible in St. Petersburg, Florida, where I live. Merry Christmas! It's almost Christmas time. You are seeing this the Saturday before Christmas, so I think that's 8 days before Christmas that you'll see this episode. I am wearing red because I've been running around like a crazy person today. Not because I'm trying, but I'm wearing an old red t-shirt and red leggings. I'm not wearing any crochet, but I will get a sweater or something after I put this one to bed. If you are looking for me anywhere on the interweb, you can find me as the Cozy Cottage Crochet on Instagram and on Facebook. We also have a Ravelry group for this podcast. It is the Cozy Cottage Crochet Ravelry group. All of that is linked directly down below.
Read that one.
You read it. Mama's talking to the friends.
Wow.
Yes, you read it. You read your book. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything to say about the podcast specifically, please shoot me an email. That is the best way to get a hold of me. Happy Halloween.
Oh no.
Is that because you're wearing ghosts on your shirt?
Happy Halloween.
You're out of season.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
The email address is thecozycottagecrochet@gmail.com.
Happy Halloween.
Nova, where are we going? Where are we going to drive to tomorrow?
Cocoa Beach.
We're not going to Cocoa Beach. We went to Cocoa Beach for Thanksgiving.
Halloween.
Are we going to drive to South Carolina? Who are we going to see?
Me, Papa.
Maybe.
Elijah.
Maybe and Pop and Elijah?
Uncle Chris.
And Uncle Chris?
Uncle Reindeer.
Uncle Reindeer does live in South Carolina, but we're not going to see him. He lives in a different house. I have an uncle named Uncle Randy, and she calls him Uncle Reindeer, which I think is adorable. Hello, I'm back. It's like an hour later. Magically, everything looks the same. The baby is in bed, and a plumber has been to our house, and I have had a snack, a small amount of caffeine. Shout out to my dear friend and patron, Allie, from the UK, who brought me a box of two boxes actually, of Irish cream tea from Tecan, because it's really hard to get in America, and it's one of my favorite teas of all time, and I ration it out because it has caffeine. But let me tell you, I did not get enough sleep for this whole month, and tomorrow we are leaving on a trip, so I needed help today, and I won't be having caffeine on Sunday because I won't be at church. So I have used my caffeine allotment previously 45 minutes ago, and now you will reap the benefits. I don't even know where to begin other than to warn you up front that this is a really knitting heavy episode because I have been working on one project. That's dramatic. I've been working on 3 projects, but one project has gotten all of the attention and is in fact finished. I have been working on a sweater that is done. A pair of socks that just goes with me everywhere in case I have waiting time. So that has had some put on it, but it's not completely done. And then my crochet memories blanket, I have put a couple of squares on. That is all I have done in the last 2 weeks, but the whole sweater is finished. So, let's just talk about it. We're gonna talk about the sweater in the room. It is, I don't even know where to begin because it's finished, but I'm thinking about reknitting it. Just bear with me, okay? I have so many things to say about this sweater. The pattern that I was making is the Super Bulky Grandpa Cardigan by Joji Locatelli. I regraded this cardigan because the pattern calls for super bulky yarn, and I have regraded the pattern so that I could make it in bulky weight yarn. She calls for you to get about 1.75 stitches per inch, and my gauge was 2.75 stitches per inch. She calls for you to get 2.7 rows per inch. My gauge was 4 rows per inch. So I had to redo the whole pattern, essentially. This is just some of my notes on how to regrade the pattern. It was actually a really interesting process. It was something that actually was really good that I did. And I think it was really helpful for me and my brain to see the process of grading it. It's finished, and it had a little bit of a mishap. Nobody panic. It's fine. this is the sweater. Oh my goodness. The yarn that I'm used for this is Cece's wool. I got it from Cece's wool at Rhinebeck. This is the Monster Mash colorway, which is a Rhinebeck specific colorway. And I did in fact have enough yarn. But when I went to put this, I soaked it, like I always soak all of my hand knits, no problem. I soaked it in some like warmish water, and then I wrung it out, and then I put it on a spin cycle in the washing machine. And then when I put it in the water to soak, it was like it grew exponentially, which is how superwash behaves. And I was not paying enough attention. And so I was like, oh, this is superwash, so then I can just put it in the dryer. So I did put it in the dryer. It is not in fact superwash yarn, not even a little bit. Now I was monitoring it, so thankfully a huge crisis has been averted, because this sweater could be about 3 sizes smaller and a solid piece of fabric, and then I would have actually cried. I checked on it after 3 minutes in the dryer. It was totally fine, and I was like, okay. It was not on high heat. It was like on a lowish heat by itself in the dryer. There was no other like dryer balls, no other agitation other than just tumbling. I checked on it after 3 minutes. It was fine. I was like, okay. So I left it in for another few minutes. Checked on it again. And I was like, oh no, not fine. And it is a good thing I checked on it, because if it had been in there for another, I don't know, 10 minutes, it would have been fused together. So you can't really tell. Like when you're seeing it on the screen, if you don't know what you're looking for, you're not gonna be able to tell that this is slightly felted. And I say slightly because when it came out of the dryer, it was a little bit smaller, but because it was still damp, I stretched it back into shape, which you're not really supposed to yank on yarn like that when it's wet, but I wanted it to, and I figured it was bulky yarn, so it would be fine. I managed to stretch it back to the size that I knew would fit me. I'm gonna say it's ever so slightly snug, which is not really the fit that I was looking for, because I regraded this pattern to have about 4 inches of positive ease, 4 to 5 inches of positive ease, where the pattern is written for no positive ease. These are my buttons. I got them at Joann's. I love the buttons very, very much. And you can see, I mean, it really does not look felted. Like you can see the stitches are still pretty clear. The colors are beautiful. This is the side seam. It's perfect. It's like a faux seam. It's basically just a purl stitch to give it kind of a seam look, but it's not an actual seam. It goes, this is my hip bone right here. So it's a perfect length to the top of my butt. The sleeves are to like right here. I would prefer them to be like another inch longer, but I think I could stretch it out. It fits really well. Where I can really tell that it's slightly smaller is the collar is slightly smaller for sure. For some reason, the collar shrunk a bit. And like the sleeves are a little snugger than I would want them to be. My Lord, did y'all hear that? I don't know how you could not have heard that. It is monsooning outside. So apologies for crazy thunder. So the stitches look totally fine. And honestly, after this little trip through the dryer, it just looks like it's been worn a lot. Like, I feel like it has like ever so slightly like a halo. The stitches are a little bit closer together. And it's more of a solid fabric than it was before, but it is not offensively felted in any way. Like no one will be able to tell except me. Ooh, it's gonna thunder really loud. Oh, that was a letdown. The lightning was like right there. It's not, no one is going to be able to tell except me when I'm wearing this. But I will show you what it looks like versus the swatch. So this is the swatch that I knit. And you can see that the stitches are really clearly defined. It's very crisp. And when I stretch it, it's super stretchy and you can see daylight through. See all of that? This is what the swatch looks like. Let me take this off and hold the actual sweater up to you so you can see the difference. Ugh. Got my arm stuck. This is the sweater. And as you can see, we've lost a little bit of the stitch definition and the colors are ever so slightly more muted. And if I stretch it, you can't really see daylight through it. Like I can see through it. I can see all, but it's very fuzzy. Whereas if I do this, like this is super stretchy. This is not as stretchy. So as I said before, it's not offensively felted. It is not a lost cause. It is not a lost garment in any way, shape, or form. The worst part is actually right under the sleeves, and I don't know why, but it's under the sleeves on both of the sleeves. And there's no seam or anything, so I don't know why that would be, but you can definitely see that this little strip is a lot more thicker and felted together than the rest of the sleeve, and I think that that's where I lost a little bit of the ease that I had. So to me, what it looks like now is just a well-worn sweater. Like this is a sweater that has seen some years, right? Like it has been loved, it has been carted around, it has been stuffed in a backpack, and it's beautiful and it's cozy and it's wonderful in every way. It's a little snug. Probably what I will do is soak it again because it's completely dry now except for like right here under the arm. I will soak it again and see if I can make it grow just a tiny bit more. But it fits. Like this is a sweater that, let's see if I can do a side-by-side comparison so you can really see. Do you see the difference? It looks fine, and if you don't know what you're looking for, you would never know that this is not what it's supposed to look like. But this is what it's supposed to look like, and this is a little more muted, right? So, drama, sweater drama. And I know some of you are about ready to like cry your eyes out about this sweater, and I honestly want you to calm down, okay? First of all, what I have done is created content for this podcast. Let me tell you, this is not a crisis because I caught it. If it had been in the dryer for longer, it would have been a disaster. It would not be wearable. It would not be cozy in any fashion. But because I caught it, this sweater is fine. The question is fine what I was going for? And that's a question that I'm kind of tossing around in my mind. I talked to my husband about it and he was like, wow, I really like that. And I explained what it was supposed to look like versus what it does look like. Wow. And I showed him the swatch and I compared it all and I was like, laid it all out. And he was like, well, I really like that sweater. It looks super cozy. It's just a question of whether you want to be 100% happy or 90% happy. And I was like, that is the question. Do I want to be 100% happy or do I want to be 90% happy? Because I'm 90% happy with this. And I think it's totally fine. Like it's totally fine. It's great even. There was no disaster. Like it just is a little bit more muted and a little bit more solid and a little bit more snug. But it fits. It fits just fine. It's long enough. The arms are long enough. It's totally fine. It's beautiful. But is it what I was going for? And if I'm truly honest, the answer to that question is no. It's not exactly what I was going for because I wanted a little bit more ease. So I thought about this, and I usually, when there's any kind of a mishap, which I've never accidentally felted something before. I cannot believe I did this. Like, it'll teach me to not read a yarn label and go by my instinct. I went and looked after the second time I pulled it out of the dryer, and I was like, oh no. I went immediately looked at the yarn label. It does not say superwash. And I was like, oh, okay, great. Where was I going with that? I have no idea. I have no idea what I was going with that. I think, actually, I'm going to re-knit this sweater. It was really fast. It's super fast. I mean, I've knit this entire sweater in a month. Last time you saw this sweater, it was right below the underarms or something like that. Maybe an inch or two below the underarms. So I finished the entire body and the sleeves in the last 2 weeks. Granted, this is the only thing I've been working on, but like it works up really fast. So, oh, I know what I was gonna say. Normally, when it comes to decisions about how to proceed on something that's not going exactly the way I wanted it to, I will sleep on it for a night, 2 nights, maybe even a couple of weeks. I'm still sleeping on my obsidian cardigan because the collar I'm still not quite happy with. I have been messing with it, but it's not what I wanted it to be. So because I'm not quite happy with it, I'm still thinking about it. So normally that's my process, is I wait and wait and wait. I slept on this for one night and I was like, okay, I mean, I know what I need to do. I need to reknit the sweater. The problem is this is a Rhinebeck specific yarn, which means it is not sold by Cece's Wool on her website. You can't get it anywhere unless you find someone who like bought a bunch of it. And like I'll show you what I have left. I have about half of one ball. So this is probably 2 ounces of yarn. And then I have these 2 little guys. Sorry, I'm going like this because I just got a severe weather warning alert on my phone, including a tornado warning. Come on, y'all. It's a thunderstorm. Everyone needs to calm down. I'll let you know if there's a tornado. 99.9% there will not be. Certainly not where I live. I don't live next to the coast. So I have these 2 little balls. This is what was left from the sleeves, and then we have this ball, and then I have this. Maybe this is an ounce of yarn. So 3 little balls and this left from 4 8-ounce balls of this yarn. That's a lot of yarn. So to reknit this, even with those leftovers, I would need 3 more 8-ounce skeins, which is a fair amount of yarn, right? And even if someone bought this. So what I did this morning is I emailed Cece's Wool and I explained the situation. And I was like, I understand this may be a big ask, but I have accidentally kind of felted the project that I made in your yarn, and it's still beautiful and it's still wearable, and I'm going to wear it. In fact, I think this is going to be like my knock-around cardigan, and because it's a little bit felted, it's actually going to be a little sturdier, and I'm not going to care as much, I don't think. Like, I'll just wear this around the house. I'll wear it to the grocery store. I'll wear it wherever, because it's not precious in the sense that it's already had something happen to it. It's like when you spill something on your favorite pair of pants and then you're like, whatever, they're just my work pants now. But I emailed and I was like, I understand this is a big ask, but do you have any of this yarn left, or would you consider doing a custom dye of 3 additional 8-ounce skeins of this yarn? Obviously I would pay for it because of the situation, and I know that this yarn was only available at Rhinebeck, so it's okay if you can't do it. I know it's a Rhinebeck specific colorway, but just let me know either way. And actually they already emailed me back and said yes, they had a couple of 4-ounce skeins left, or they can dye me up. They're willing to dye me up 3 skeins of this yarn because of what happened, although that will take a little while because it's Christmas, etc., etc. So I haven't responded to that email yet, but I think I am going to order 3 skeins of that yarn, 3 more 8-ounce skeins. I'm going to ask for them to be dyed so that they can be in the same dye lot, and then I will reknit this cardigan, which is insane. I don't make things more than once unless they're like hats or socks or something. But I truly loved every single stitch of this project. And I don't think I've been able to say that in quite a long time. Like, at some point the project has like bummed me out, made me mad. I've wanted to throw it across the room. Like, my DK Cozy Classic Raglan is in timeout currently, has not been touched because I have to do some stuff to it. And like, none of that happened with this project. I truly loved every single stitch of working on it. And I even enjoyed doing the math to regrade it. And I'm enjoying the finished product, even though it is not exactly what I intended. I was slightly like, oh no, when I pull it out of the dryer. But once I realized I could stretch it back into shape, like, I'm not even mad at this cardigan. Is this crazy? Should I be having more emotions? I really have nothing but happiness. Like, the thought of knitting it again makes me happy. I'm not like, oh man, I'm so bummed I have to knit this cardigan again because it's not what I wanted, and stupid me, I felted the sweater by accident. None of that is in my mind. I was just like, this isn't exactly what I was looking for. But I loved working on this project. I think I'm gonna reknit it, and the thought of reknitting it sounds fabulous to me. So I don't know what's wrong with me in my brain currently, but that's where I'm at. I think I'm going to reknit this cardigan because they're willing to dye me 3 more skeins of yarn. And it will just be more content for the podcast. I assume that I will be making the second one much slower than I made this one. I really wanted this one to be done so I could wear it on Christmas. And I probably will wear it on Christmas, but it's just not exactly what I was looking for. So my regrading worked perfectly. Like when I tried this on before it was soaked, it was just the most perfect fit. It was exactly what I was looking for. The underarms fit perfectly. The color was the perfect size. The length was the perfect size. The sleeves were the perfect size. Perfect in every way. So my regrading based on Hohi's stitch counts and measurements was fabulous. So really, really, really happy with it. And I got a couple of questions via email from more than one person actually, being like, hey, you modify patterns a lot. Is it easy to modify patterns for a different weight of yarn? And I'm gonna unequivocally say no. Like, unless you are confident in doing the math and ripping and frogging and recalculating, don't do it. Don't waste your time. Like if you have bulky weight yarn and you want to make this sweater is not graded for bulky weight yarn, and it's gonna have to be, you can't take my numbers and use it for your bulky weight yarn because you're gonna have a different yarn and a different gauge. So you have to rework all of the math for your gauge. You may have to adjust things as you go. Like I regraded up to the underarm split originally, and then as I was knitting, I was like, oh, actually I made a mistake. I need to insert a couple of more rows. You're gonna have to fudge a few things, so because the numbers aren't gonna match exactly because some of them are decimal points. So at one point I needed, I think, like 8.6 rows, but in pattern I either needed 8 rows or 10 rows to make the increases work. So I had to kind of fudge that and be like, okay, I'm gonna do 8 rows in this section, but I'm gonna insert an extra row in the next section to make up for that length that I'm missing. These are all things you have to think about. You also have to do a lot of actual math and recalculating of the decreases and increases. So you can't just say, oh, my stitch gauge is 3 stitches per inch, my row gauge is 4 stitches per inch. I'll just take, let me see if I can make this a more clear example. I would take, say, the stitch gauge called for in the pattern, 1.75, and I would take the total number of inches. So let's say I multiply that by 10. That gives me how many stitches. But then I need to divide that by my stitch gauge to reach the number of stitches I would need to get those inches. Then, so let's say I do that, okay, on the sleeve, say this is completely random, this is not in the pattern, but let's say you had to work 10 rounds of plain stockinette on the sleeve before you started decreasing. I might change that to whatever my gauge is. So I would take 10 rounds divided by the original gauge, 2.75 rows per inch. Is this making sense? I would take 10 rows divided by 2.75. That's the original gauge. I would then take the result of that math equation and multiply it by my row gauge, which is 4. Let's say that gives me 16 rows. I will then have to work 16 rows. Okay, then you just start the decreases and proceed. No, you may have to calculate a different number of decreases. So for the decreases in the pattern, let's say you're decreasing 4 stitches. Okay, well in the original pattern, you're decreasing 4 stitches, and that's going to be an overall decrease of approximately 2 inches, maybe 3.5 inches. I need to decrease more stitches to decrease that amount of inches. So then you have to recalculate where the decreases go. So it gets very complicated. And if you want to do it, like, go ahead, go for it. It's just yarn, okay? You can rip it out, you can frog it, it's not a big deal. But if that's not your cup of tea, then don't bother. You will just make you mad, okay? I was very happy to regrade this, but like, hear me, I design patterns. Regrading this based on Hohi's measurements and my gauge actually I think was a really good exercise, especially because in the new year I'm going to be designing a cardigan with lime green yarn, not lime green, highlighter yellow yarn dyed by Malia Made It in a DK weight yarn, and it's going to be raglan construction. It's not going to be knitted, but it will be crocheted. This exercise in regrading this pattern is really, really great prep for me to grade that. Don't waste your time. Like, you have to be willing to commit a lot of time to this. I actually am probably gonna have to redo some of the math because I didn't keep good enough notes, because I was like, oh, once I get through this section, I'll never need this again. But now I'm gonna reknit it. Like, this is crazy, y'all. Just, let's see. This is increases for the raglan. This is the body with buttonhole rows put in and waist increase and decreases. And then this over here is the sleeve. This is the sleeve cuff, and then that's something else. That's just some of the math. Some of the math that I did. You should see the other pages that are scribbled on. So yeah, it is delightful and lovely, and actually I'm really just enjoying wearing it, and I'm probably gonna wear it all day tomorrow on the way to South Carolina. It's warm, it's cozy, it's fabulous, and I'm going to reknit it. So yeah, have you ever reknit a project because you accidentally felted it a tiny bit in the dryer after 5 minutes because you can't read a yarn label, but then you weren't mad about it because it's still great, but then you also still want to reknit it again because it's so great that you don't want to not knit it again and have it be the original way that you wanted it? No, just me. I did want to mention a couple of things. One, I knit the entire body of this sweater on the Luca driftwood needles that I'm using. They were sent to me for review, and I'm using them for review, and I have to say I really enjoyed it. I really, really liked, much more than I even thought I would, using these needles. I knit it on size 8mm needles. It was great, and my hands really did not hurt that much at all, which is shocking to me. I will say, I do not like the cable. The cable irritated me the whole sweater. The needles were wonderful. The sleeves, I knit not on the Luca needles because I would have had to knit them magic loop, and I hate that. So I knit them on Chowgu yellow shorties. This. Also on 8mm needles, and I just knit the sleeves in the round. Because I was knitting them in the round, I used one big needle and one small needle, so that the stitches slid off easier. These definitely made my hands hurt a little bit more than the wood needles. But what I will say to that is I'm not sure if that's because of the metal needles themselves or just because I was working on such tiny needles. Not tiny needles, but like tiny lengthwise needles. I didn't have a lot to grab onto. Getting hot. Because I am still in Florida. We'll put it over here so everyone can admire it. So that was very delightful to use all of those needles. And I was gonna show these to you, but then I finished the whole sweater, so it actually didn't matter. Like, they weren't on these, but my friend Amanda sent me these a while ago, and they're the circular stitch holders from Clover. And I use them for the sleeves, and they are wonderful. I will be using these forever for the rest of my life, I think. So basically you put all of the stitches for the sleeve on this needle, and then you stick it through, and then it stays just like that. And then you can just thread them back onto your knitting needle when you're ready to pick up for the sleeves. And it's big enough that you can actually try it on. Like, that's a pretty big circumference. So I was actually able to try on the sweater with no problem with both sleeves on these guys. I really, really love those. Okay, that's the circular stitch holder from Clover. 9 to 16 inches. So yeah, I have all these little balls of yarn left. And I have one ball like this. And I have a completely finished sweater that is not exactly what I was looking for. So I think I'm going to reknit it. Oh, and I did want to show you. These are the buttons. I really, really love the buttons. I think they're perfect for this sweater. Got them at Joann's with a coupon. So all 3 of those buttons collectively was, I think, $6. Sold. So that's my very long ramble about one particular project that I spent all of my time working on. Let's talk about the other 2 projects. I just have a pair of socks and my crochet memories blanket. Not much else because I've only been knitting on the sweater. I almost had these finished. Oh no, they're all tangled. The stitch marker is attached to another stitch marker. I'm like so close to having these finished, but alas, it didn't happen. This is sock number 1. It is a mini that I got out of my advent calendar from last year. And this yarn is Lola Bean Yarn Co. Black Label and Cameo Candy. And I have knit a sockhead hat out of this yarn, and I'm knitting a pair of socks out of this yarn, and I still have this much left. Which wouldn't be enough for a pair of socks, but definitely would be enough for lots of squares in my crochet memory blanket. So this is sock number 1. And I knit these cuff down. I cast on 64 stitches. I did 15 rounds of 2x2 rib. I did 15 rounds of stockinette. Then I did a fish lips kiss heel. The foot, which was like 5.5 inches of stockinette for me. And then I did the rounded toe from Mina's 2 at a time vanilla sock recipe. She has a rounded toe in there, and I love that rounded toe. It fits my feet so well. So that one was already done. And this is where I'm at on the second one. Almost done with the toe. It's actually on magic loop. That's how few stitches there are left. I've done the beginning of the rounded toe, and I just have to do, now you're decreasing every round. So I just have to finish that off and Kitchener it and weave in the ends, and it'll be done. So these had better be done by the next time I talk to y'all, because otherwise, what am I even doing? This is approximately where I was last time, right here. So I basically knit the whole foot. I had a couple of moments where I was waiting when I was about to officiate weddings, etc. And then yesterday I had an oil change, which took forever. It took like 45 minutes. So yes, I knit quite a bit, basically from like here all the way through the toe while I was waiting for an oil change. And this is how much I have left of the mini. I should, in theory, have enough. I've been weighing after I'm done with, it takes me about 15 grams of yarn to do contrast toes, heels, and cuffs. And I only need about 5 or 6 grams of yarn to do a square for my crochet memories blanket. It's probably cutting it close, but I could always work in another yarn or do 2 half squares. Speaking of my crochet memories blanket, oh, there's multiple yarns attached to this. Wow. I have added some squares, and let's turn it around so you can see actually the right side of the work. So this whole strip was done the last time I talked to you. So I have added 3 squares over here. And actually the way that I added it is I added this one, and then this one. Or maybe I added this one, this one, this one. It wasn't quite in order. And now I am adding down here at the bottom, another one, another blue square. So these are just corner to corner squares. They're join as you go in any direction, which makes them very fabulous. And it only takes 5 to 6 grams of yarn to make 1 square. So it's basically like a patchwork blanket. And I have 2 balls of yarn attached to this. Why did I not fasten off those yarn after I made the last square? I have no idea. But this pattern, I'll link it down below for you. It's $1 on Ravelry, and you will get how to do this. You'll get a photo tutorial, you'll get a written pattern, and you'll get a link to a YouTube video. If you just want the YouTube video, it's free on my channel, but it's just the method. It's not going to give you a pattern or graded for specific sizes of blanket. It's just going to tell you how to join the squares as you go. So I really am happy with this. All of my minis, the whole little bag of minis that are living in here, as well as my crochet hook. And I need to put this in a bigger bag actually, because I want to put all of these in there. This is the rest of my little tiny mini scraps. These are all 10-gram things of yarn. And so I use about half of one to make 1 square. So once I go through every single one of these little balls of yarn, I will probably have enough to do squares all over again. I don't know if I'll do that on the same blanket or not. Like this is this one right here. Now I'm trying to get a little bit better about taking the yarn out once I've used it so that I don't get confused. Like I definitely used this one. So these two need to come out. And I just want to show you a couple of these random minis. So like this one definitely was used as well. Like I have all these fun mini colors, and like this is from, oh, this is Eden's Fun Yarns from the socks that I just finished. I think that there's 5 or 6 grams left of this, so should be enough to do one square. I have a little yarn tail. This is 5 grams, I believe. It should be enough. So yeah, there's all kinds. This one was this square, so that one's done. I need to like do better about this. I think what I need to do actually is put like a Ziploc bag or something. This one was used too. In the bag, and then once I've used up or made a square out of one of these, then I can just put it in a separate bag so it doesn't get lost and confused. Oh, look at this one. Oh, that's pretty. This is Porter Wool Company, and the colorway is Rainbow Dust. Where should that go? Maybe like right here. I don't know how many. Oh, there's another one that's been used already. I don't know how many of these I have, but like a lot. The answer is a lot. And maybe I need to design another minis project. This will definitely be going with me to South Carolina because this is such an easy project to work on. Okay, so I pulled out all of those. So let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 23 squares is what I have in here, plus all of this. So yeah, I need a bigger bag. I need to put this project in a bigger bag. And then that's not to mention, once I've made a square out of all of those, that I have tons of little tiny scraps of yarn that were left over from things, left over from socks, left over from projects, lots of yarn scraps that are going to go in this blanket as well. So it is a small blanket right now, but it is going to be such a cute patchwork quilt type blanket going forward. And I'm really excited to spend some time working on that. Definitely going to be, I don't think I'm going to take any knitting with me to South Carolina. I don't think I am. I think I'm going to take this, and maybe I'll take my Alina shawl design, because that should get some love pretty soon as well. So yeah, that is the story of the things that I've been working on. I want to show you my advent calendar. An advent calendar, a yarn advent calendar, is something that I look forward to every year. This is the 4th year that I have gotten a yarn advent calendar, I'm pretty sure. And I start saving for it like in January. And I've just put a couple dollars aside till I can get one. I've only ever had one per year. This year you're gonna see that I have 2. And if you've been watching Vlogmas, you'll know why that is. But if you haven't been watching Vlogmas, no pressure. The reason I have 2 advent calendars is because I ordered one back in June or July, I think, or maybe even a little earlier than that. I think it was June. I ordered the advent calendar. Then I saw another advent calendar that I really, really, really liked, but I was like, I've already ordered my advent calendar, so no, like it's not happening. Then in August, I had emergency surgery. One of my fallopian tubes was removed. I had an ectopic pregnancy. It was a whole thing. I was in the hospital for a day, and then I was at home recovering. And then like the night that the anesthesia was leaving my body, it was like basically like 24 to 48 hours maybe after the actual surgery. When the anesthesia leaves your body, like you can get really sick, be really dizzy, all kinds of things. I didn't know that. So I was up all night. Literally awake the entire night. I watched an entire season of Blown Away, which is a glass blowing competition on Netflix. And some time in that night, I purchased another yarn advent calendar. I have really no memory of doing that. And because I was recovering from surgery, I then did not check my emails for like a week and a half. And when I finally got through my emails, I had this purchase confirmation for an advent calendar, and I was like, did I buy an advent calendar? Like, what happened? And yes, I did. But by that point, it was already been like a week and a half, and I was just like, okay. I don't think I've ever done that in my life before, ever, that I've made a purchase that I don't remember making. But I guess there's a first time for everything. And my first time was after I had surgery and was awake for way too long. So I have 2 advent calendars this year, and I basically just chalked that second one up to hospital expense, because that definitely would not have happened if I hadn't had surgery. I am not upset about it. The first advent calendar came in this box. This is an advent calendar from Tippy Tree Yarns, and it was called Color Your World Advent Calendar. And all of the yarn came in these little envelopes. They're numbered by day. And you basically, she sent you like a little coloring book. So it's supposed to be like really bright colors. She sent like some colored pencils and stuff like that. And basically, like, my understanding when I ordered it was supposed to be really bright colors. I like these yarns. I'm gonna say they're not super bright. Maybe they're bright for you. Like this one is bright. This I don't feel like, that's pretty muted, I think. The yarns are very pretty. I don't know, like especially this side right here, I don't know that I would ever pick out these yarns to buy. This is much more my speed, especially this purple, blue, things like that. They're really, really pretty. There was a magnet in there that says Tippy Tree Yarns. This is one of my favorite ones from this advent calendar. That one and this purple. I love this purple. I guess I just thought that maybe this would have been brighter colors based on the description. I am not upset with it. It's not a bad review, and I paid for it with my own money. So I'm not upset at all about having this advent calendar. I just thought it was going to be a little brighter. The other advent calendar came from Malia Made It, who is known for neons, and she was advertising a neon advent calendar. These are not in any particular order because I haven't been able to keep them in order, but this is so my speed. I cannot. Like, these minis are so bright. They make me happy every time I look at them. Like, these are like candy. Love it. Look at how bright. This is like electric. I would love a cardigan in this color. This is amazing. This is very similar to the color that Malia dyed me as part of our collaboration that I'm going to design a raglan crochet cardigan out of. It's going to be this color. Although now I'm like, dang, I should have made this one. Guess that means I'll have to design more than one. This, again, so pretty. Ooh, I'm like dropping all of these minis. I don't know how many I can show you at once, but they're just amazing. So I am in no way upset or mad or offended in any way by the Tippy Tree Yarns advent calendar. I think the yarn is very beautiful. And if that were the only advent calendar I had, I would be quite happy with it. But these, Malia, you're killing it. You're killing it with your colors. Like, it's so happy. And I still have 3, 6, 9 more days of yarn to open, plus the large skein. So I guess I will have to design some kind of neon mini skein project, maybe for next year. So I just thought you would find that interesting to see what they look like. What else do I have to talk about? We're going to South Carolina tomorrow. It is gonna be like, it's like 7.5, 8 hours of driving. So it's probably going to take 10 hours because we're going to have to stop a lot with the baby, who does not do well in the car. She's never been on a trip like this. And I don't know. We really wanted to fly, but tickets are insanely expensive. So we're not flying, we're driving. Y'all pray for me. And well, not only are we driving there, we then have to drive home on Monday. So we're going to be there for 2 days, drive home on Monday. I hope that we survive it. I got an oil change in the car yesterday because I was like, all of us are going to be breaking down and the car cannot be one of the things that's breaking down. So just pray for me. This baby has not slept in the car in a year. And we're going to be going right through her nap time. It's going to be one of those anything goes days. I have all the snacks. I have toys. We have an iPad to watch I'll watch Mickey Mouse for 8 hours if it prevents her from screaming. Although I'm sure it will not. So I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not looking forward to it. I'm a little bit stressed. I still have to pack everything. The only thing that has been packed is the Christmas presents that we are taking to Josiah's family. I still have to do some laundry, just one load, thankfully. I had a little snafu with the dryer last night. And thankfully, I didn't have to call a repair person. It's fine. But I was stressed, y'all. So yes, that's happening. And then next week is Christmas. Next week is Christmas, y'all. I know everyone's like, oh my God, I'm not ready. I'm not ready because I want the Christmas season to be longer, but I am ready for Christmas. I'm ready for Nova to experience Christmas. It was her birthday. She was so happy. She's 2 now. Now she's going to experience her third Christmas in the world because she was born right before Christmas. I got her a little play sink for Christmas. It's like this big. It has actual running water. You put water in the base of it, and then the faucet is a little pump that runs on batteries. I'm sure it's going to eat batteries like nobody's business. But she loves water. She loves dumping water, pouring water, measuring water. She loves it. And so that's her Christmas present, is this little play sink that pumps the running water, and she can turn the faucet on and off without just having the faucet running in our kitchen sink forever and ever and charging us water bills. So I'm sure she'll really love that. And I have heard that Josiah's parents got her a big Moana doll, which I'm sure she will love. So it's going to be a really fun 2 weeks. I'm happy. I'm happy that it's Christmas. I am happy. This makes me happy. Just pulling this out makes me want to add a square right now. This cardigan makes me happy, even though it's not quite what I was going for. This makes me really happy. And you guys make me happy. I did want to say, just an FYI, I'm sure you have noticed if you're watching Vlogmas and following along, but I have enabled ads on Vlogmas videos. And I did that because it's just a huge time commitment, and I wanted to see what it would produce, if that makes sense. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to enable them at the beginning of podcast episodes or not. I have not. In 5 years of podcasting, I have not had any ads on this channel ever until this month, and I really like it that way. But everything costs approximately $1 billion lately. Inflation is killing me. It's so expensive. And there's just, I don't know. The podcast, crochet patterns and things like that I sell, support this podcast specifically. The Patreon, I have a Patreon account that supports the podcast. And every once in a while, people leave me coffee donations that supports the podcast and pays for things like last week I mailed out all of the prizes for the gift along that we had going, and I mailed out a few things. And that, just shipping costs is I mailed 6 small packages, like this big. They're not large. They didn't weigh a lot. And it was $50. So for Vlogmas was I just don't know what to do exactly. But if I'm going to upload a video every single day in December, I think I just need to turn the ads on for that. And so I did, and I thought you would find it interesting. Thus far, there's an estimated earnings thing in YouTube that you can look at. Thus far, based on all of the ads from all of the Vlogmas videos and all of the views, it equates to about $70. Now, that is reason number one that I have not turned on ads until now, is because it's hardly worth it. Like, it really, like, you have to have so many views to make it worth your while. And you might be like, $70 is nothing to sneeze at. That is true. That is going to pay for a counseling appointment that I have scheduled in January, and it's going to pay for probably some snacks for our road trip tomorrow. So it's definitely nothing to sneeze at. But like, if you have like millions of viewers or even like tens of thousands of viewers, you would get a lot more money. But like, that's $70 for 15, is this the 15th? So 14 days of videos. So the equation of like, this pays you X amount of money, therefore it makes it worth it to post videos, it does not match up, which is the reason I have never had ads on my channel before. It just doesn't make sense to like make people wait through that, to me, when it's like a couple cents. But for Vlogmas, like, the reason I'm saying it doesn't make sense is because I usually only upload twice a month. And so it would be like $5. Like, it would be almost nothing. So I'm not going to have ads on this particular podcast video. I don't know if I will or not. We just, for the podcast going forward next year, I've just been waiting. And I mean, we have over 10,000 subscribers to this channel, which is like mind-blowing to me. It's so amazing. And it makes me really, really, really overjoyed. And I don't ever want to do anything that like makes people go, ugh, or like be irritated that they come to my channel. And I don't know. It's just been a struggle for me to think about. But I did enable them for Vlogmas, and that is the reason why, if you have been watching Vlogmas and seeing ads, that is the reason why I enabled them, just for Vlogmas specifically. And I'll just have to think about what to do next year for the podcast. I would love to know your thoughts on it. Like, do you mind the ads at the beginning? Does it bother you? Because I usually have the skippable ones. So does it bother you to like watch 5 seconds and then skip it? Is it something that would make you not watch this channel if there were ads on the actual podcast episode? I would love to know your thoughts. Yeah. So that's enough of that, I guess. It is 12:45 and I've got to get this uploaded to the internet. Well, I have to download it from my phone to my computer, edit it, process it, then upload it to the internet. And then Nova will be awake by then, I'm sure. And then I have like an hour. And then I'm going to the beach to officiate a wedding, which, fingers crossed, it's not raining. And then I have to come home and speed pack a bunch of things for tomorrow, because we're leaving at like 8 in the morning. And then tonight we have some friends coming over to watch a Christmas movie. And it's basically insanity, y'all. It's insanity around here. It's the most wonderful, most insane time of the year. I'm sure it is for everyone. So I'm going to call it right here. And I'm going to say Merry Christmas. I'm so happy. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching this episode. Thank you for watching Vlogmas. Thank you for being with me for the whole year. And thank you for some of you for being with me for the whole 5 years I've been podcasting. I love you eternally. You make my life and my Christmas season brighter. And I can't wait to see you again the day before New Year's. Bye, friends.